All right, so this is a simplifying radicals review. With simplifying radicals, what we need to remember are perfect squares. Perfect squares are any number times itself, but then you take the square root. So like a square root of any number that you can get a nice whole number. So 2 squared is 4, so square root of 4 gives me 2. So that's a perfect, 4 is a perfect square. 3 squared is 9, so I can take the square root of 9 and get 3, perfect square. So we have 3 squared, 4 squared, 5 squared, 6 squared, 7 squared, 8 squared, 9 squared, 10 squared, 11 squared. Whoops, I just suddenly skipped a bunch. 12 squared, 13 squared, 14 squared. We go to 15 squared, 16 squared. Okay, and it just keeps going, okay? So the first thing to check with any simplifying of radicals is, can you just take a square root of it and get a nice pretty whole number? And here I can. Well, it's a perfect square. So if I can take a square root and get a whole number, it's a perfect square. So to get the 100, I had 10 squared. So square root of 100 is 10. But one thing I do want you to remember, it's not we're not doing this on this, but when we get to solving equations where we square root both sides, these aren't equations where we have two sides, we'll also get the negative, because negative 10 times negative 10 is also 100. But we'll go through that later, sorry. For simplifying this one, I need to find the biggest perfect square that goes into this. Sorry, I had to find a pencil. And so 12 fits right in here. So I go where it fits and I start moving my way up. If I start at the top and go down, sometimes I don't catch the biggest perfect square. So I'm going to say 12 divided by 9 does not give me a nice pretty whole number, but 12 divided by 4 does. So 12, square root of 12 is the same thing as saying square root of 4 times square root of 3. 4 times 3 is 12. These are the same thing. Well, I can take a square root of 4 and I get 2. Square root of 4 is 2. So I don't write the square root anymore because I got rid of it. I took the square root and I got 2. And then I'm still left with the square root of 3. So square root of 12 turns simplified is 2 square root of 3. Then we go to the next one. Well, we go to 8. Well, on our line here, 8 is above 9, so the only one perfect square that can go into it is 4, and it does. Square root of 4 times square root of 2. 4 times 2 is 8. Square root of 4 is 2, and then I still have that square root. So 2 square root of 2 is square root of 8 simplified. Now 75 fits in right here, okay? Well, I can't divide it by 64 and get a pretty number. The key here is it ends in 5. That should kind of give away where you're going to divide, and I'm going to divide it by 25. So this same thing is saying square root of 25 times square root of 3. Square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 3, okay? So you're finding the largest perfect square that goes into that number. Now, number 5, if I look on here, oh look, 64 is a perfect square. So even if you get some bigger numbers, always try to take the perfect square first. Or I'm sorry, square root first. And if you get a perfect square, it works out. So this is just 8. Let's go to one where we need to do a little more math to it. Let's try 98. Okay. 98 fits, so I'm doing number 12, fits right here between 81 and 100. Well, 98 I can't divide by 81. I can't divide by 64, but 49 works. So I would want to do, whoops, where'd I go? Square root of 49 times 2. Okay, so this would be a 7 times square root of 2. All right. So some of them, if like say 16 goes into it, if you would have started at the top, 4 goes into 16, so you would have said, oh, square root of 4 goes into it, and thought you were done. But then what you have simplified, actually here, number 8 is that way. I could say this is square root of 4, square root of 8, but a perfect square still goes into square root of 8, so it would not be as simplified. But 32 fits in here. I can't divide by 25, but I can by 16. So it's square root of 16 times square root of 2. So that'd be 4 square root of 2. Okay, the square root of 16 is 4. Now go down to one of these here at the bottom where I have, let's just do 15, where I have something I need to take a square root of, and then I have this whole number in the front, okay? Don't lose that number in the front. We still have it, negative 5 times. What's a perfect square that goes into 175? Well, 25. And then 25 times 7. Okay? I can take the square root of the 25. So I still have this negative 5 times. Square root of 25 was 5. And then I still have a square root of 7. Negative 5. Now these two whole numbers can be multiplied together. So I have negative 5 times 5 is, negative 25. And I still have square root of 7. And that's as simplified as it gets. Okay? So that's what you're doing on this one, is just simplifying radicals as much as you can. I do have the answers on the back of this sheet for you to check, but you need to show work.